Welcome back to the deep dive. I am really excited today. We're kicking off something new, something special, our CSWIP 3.1 exam prep series. Now, maybe some of you listening, CSWIP, that's the certification scheme for welding inspection personnel. It's pretty much the gold standard globally for welding inspectors. So if that's you, if you're aiming to become a welding inspector, or maybe you're just, fascinated by how we ensure welds out to scratch, you're absolutely in the right place. Our mission today, we're going to tackle some really critical concepts. We'll dive headfirst into some multiple choice questions, the kind you'll definitely see on the CSWIP 3.1 exam. But look, this isn't just about rote learning answers, right? It's about really understanding them, getting that clarity, maybe having a few aha moments that'll stick with you.
Absolutely. And that aha moment, that's key. Because really mastering this stuff and, being able to apply it confidently out in the field, it comes from understanding why. Why is that the right answer? It helps you connect the dots, see what a particular flaw might be telling you about the whole welding process. That's the kind of intuition we want to help you build.
Perfect setup.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump straight in then. First question. This one's about a pretty common welding imperfection. So the question is, undercut can be defined as one of the following. And the options: A, concavity in the root of the weld; B, crater in the fill of the weld; C, an oxide within the weld; D, depression at the toe of the weld. Okay, let's unpack this one. Undercut. It's a word you hear a lot, and it's definitely something inspectors need to spot. So what's the right answer, and maybe why might people get tripped up by the others?
Right. Well, the correct answer here is definitely D, depression at the toe of the weld. Basically, undercut is like a little groove. It's melted into the base metal right beside the edge of the weld, the toe, or sometimes the root, but it hasn't been filled back in with weld metal. Think of it like this. You have the weld bead, and then right where it meets the original plate, there's a sort of notch or channel dug out. That's your undercut.
Okay, a depression right at the edge.
Exactly. And it's not just, how it looks, why it's so important, and why we define it carefully is because that groove acts as a stress concentrator. Think of trying to break a Kit Kat, right? You snap it at the groove. Same idea here. Under load, especially changing loads, stress builds up right at that undercut.
Okay, so it becomes a weak point.
Precisely. It significantly increases the risk of fatigue cracking starting right there. So spotting undercut isn't just ticking a box, it's identifying a potential failure point. And it often points back to the process too, maybe too much current, wrong angle, maybe moving too fast.
So seeing it tells you something might be off with how the weld was made. Not just a surface flaw, but a clue. Very important. Got it. Okay, first one down, let's move on. Next question tackles something about, getting too much weld metal on the wrong place. Question 2, excess penetration is often caused by which of the following? Options: A, too high a welding current; B, slow travel speed; C, large root gap; D, all of the above. Now, this feels like one where things might interact. Maybe it's not always just one single cause in welding, is it?
You've hit the nail on the head there. It's very often a combination, and the correct answer reflects that it's D, all of the above. Each one of these things can contribute, often working together, to cause that weld metal to push through the back of the joint too much.
Okay, so break that down for us. How does each one play a part?
Sure. So first, too high a welding current. More current generally means more heat, right?
Right.
So that extra heat makes the weld pool super hot, very fluid, less kind of thick and sticky. And when it's that runny, gravity or the arc force can just push it right through the joint.
Okay, too much power, too much melt. Makes sense. What about travel speed?
Well, slow travel speed basically means you're keeping that heat concentrated in one spot for longer. You're just dwelling there, allowing more time for the heat to build up and for that molten pool to sag or melt its way through. Like holding a magnifying glass still on a piece of paper for too long.
Gotcha. More time for trouble. And the root gap.
And then, a large root gap. That's more about the physical setup. If the gap between the pieces you're joining is too wide, there's simply less base material there for the weld pool to bridge across. It's like trying to fill a bigger hole. It's easier for the molten metal to just fall through or push through to the other side because there's less supporting it.
So it's a combination of heat, time, and the physical space.
Exactly. And as an inspector, if you see really bad excess penetration, you're not just noting it down. You're immediately thinking, okay, were they running too hot? Were they moving too slow? Was the fit up poor to begin with?
It's like detective work again.
It really is. You're connecting that visual evidence back to the likely process mistake. Understanding how these factors play together is absolutely key.
That's a great breakdown. You can see how balancing those parameters is such a challenge for the welder and why the inspector needs to understand the causes.
Definitely. And, the look of the excess penetration might even give clues, like, is it a wide sag, maybe suggesting high current, or more like intermittent bulges, maybe pointing to slow travel?
Interesting. Reading the weld story, as you said.
Yeah, and imagine doing that overhead. Gravity's working against you even more. It just highlights how critical that parameter control is.
Absolutely. Okay, let's focus a bit. This next question is about terminology, but it's fundamental. Question 3. All things contain imperfections, but it is only when they fall outside the level of acceptance they should be termed. Options. A. Discontinuity. B. Defect.
Yeah.
C. Mechanical damage. D. Welding imperfections. This feels really central to the inspector's job, right? Drawing that line between something that's just there and something that's actually a problem.
Oh, absolutely central. This is probably the core distinction an inspector makes day in, day out. And the correct answer here is B. Defect. Oh, getting this right impacts everything: cost, schedule, safety. Let me explain. Okay, so an imperfection, or sometimes called a discontinuity, the terms are often used pretty interchangeably, that's just any kind of interruption in the normal structure of the weld or the metal around it. Think tiny pores, slight ripples, maybe a small inclusion. They're common, almost expected to some degree in any welding process. They exist.
Okay, so imperfections are just irregularity.
Pretty much. But a defect, now that's different. A defect is an imperfection that's bad enough, either because of its size, its type, its location, or maybe a combination that it means the part doesn't meet the required standard. It falls outside the minimum acceptable limits set by the code or the specification or whatever rules you're working to.
Ah, so it fails the test.
Exactly. That's the critical line. If something is classified as a defect, it has to be dealt with, usually repaired. Sometimes the whole part is rejected. And that's why a good inspector needs to know the acceptance criteria inside out. You're not just finding flaws, you're judging them against the standard.
So not every little blip is a defect.
Not at all. And calling something a defect unnecessarily means costly rework, delays. It's a big deal. Your job is to apply those standards accurately. Is this tiny bit of porosity acceptable according to clause 5.2.3? If yes, fine. If no, then it's a defect.
It makes it very clear. It's about applying the rules, not just personal opinion. But I wonder, what about those borderline cases? Is there pressure sometimes?
Oh, sure. That's where experience and knowing the specific code really well comes in. Sometimes you need precise measurement. Sometimes it involves discussion, understanding the intent of the code for that specific application. Being overly strict costs money and time. Being too lenient could be disastrous down the line. It's a responsibility, finding that correct balance based on the standard.
A real balancing act guided by the code. Okay, super important distinction. Let's get specific again with question 4. A singular gas-filled cavity that is equal or more than 1.6 millimeters in diameter is termed. Options. A. Cavity. B. Cluster porosity. C. Blowhole. D. Rounded porosity. Right, the precision here is interesting. That specific size, 1.6 millimeters.
Yeah.
Why that number?
Oh, we'll come focus. The correct answer is C. Blowhole. And yes, the terminology is precise for a reason. A blowhole is specifically a single gas cavity, and that size, 1.6 millimeters or bigger, is the key differentiator. Below that, even if it's singular, it might just be classed as rounded porosity. Cluster porosity obviously means groups of pores, and cavity is just too general. It doesn't give enough information.
So blowhole tells you.
Yeah.
Single, gas-filled, and meets that size minimum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, that 1.6 millimeters, standards often pick specific thresholds like this based on engineering assessment. It's usually a point where the flaw is considered large enough that it might start to significantly affect the weld's mechanical properties, like its strength or fatigue resistance. Below that size, a single pore might be considered negligible for many applications. Above it, it crosses a line where it needs specific attention according to the code. It also often relates to detectability with NDT methods like radiography.
Okay, so it's a practical engineering-based threshold. And if you see a blowhole, what's the likely cause an inspector should be thinking about?
Usually points to gas problems during welding. Could be issues with the shielding gas coverage, maybe moisture in the consumables, could be contamination like oil or paint on the metal surface, or even just welding too fast, not giving the gases time to escape before the weld freezes. So finding a blowhole is a strong clue about gas entrapment.
Another process clue. Got it. Okay, last question for this dive. This one feels very practical, almost day-to-day stuff for an inspector. Question 5. What should happen to spatter before visual inspection is carried out? Options. A. Spatter is not a problem for visual inspection. B. Spatter that is more than 2 mm need not be cleaned for visual inspection. C. Spatter should be cleaned off before visual inspection. D. Spatter will not have any effect on the weld or the base material. This seems straightforward, but maybe it gets overlooked sometimes. What's the deal with spatter?
It seems straightforward, but skipping it can be a huge mistake. The correct answer is absolutely C. Spatter should be cleaned off before visual inspection, no question. Why? Because spatter, those little balls of metal stuck to the surface, can hide things, really important things.
Like what?
Oh, hairline cracks right at the toe of the weld, tiny pores, maybe some undercut you wouldn't otherwise see, even issues on the base metal right next to the weld. I remember one time an inspector nearly passed a weld, but there was quite a bit of spatter along the edge. A more senior inspector insisted it be cleaned properly. Damn.
And underneath, clear toe cracks. Critical defects hidden by something seemingly harmless. Visual inspection is your first and often most important check. You need a clear, unobstructed view. Period.
Wow. That really drives it home. So cleaning off spatter isn't just about making it look neat. It's fundamental to actually seeing what's there.
Absolutely fundamental. It ensures the integrity of your inspection. Skipping it is just asking to miss something potentially serious. Basic, yes, but crucial.
Foundational, like you said. Okay, great stuff. That brings us to the end of our first dive into these CSWIP prep questions. We covered undercut that depression at the toe. We looked at excess penetration caused by high current, slow speed, or a big root gap, often all three. We nailed the difference between an imperfection and a defect at critical line based on acceptance standards. We identified a blowhole, singular, gas-filled, 1.6 millimeters or bigger, and just now, the absolute necessity of cleaning off spatter before visual inspection. Yeah, hitting these fundamentals is so important, not just for the exam, but for actually being a competent inspector out there. And it kind of makes you think, doesn't it, how these different things we talked about might link together. Like, could finding both undercut and maybe some porosity hint at a more general problem with the welder's technique or the setup? It's worth considering, how these flaws don't always happen in isolation. What's the bigger picture they're painting?
That's a great final thought, looking beyond the individual flaw to see the patterns. Excellent stuff. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into welding imperfections. Keep digging into these topics, keep asking why, and we'll catch you on the next one.